Apparemment, il fait 80 gigas. 90 gigas. Alors que je croyais qu'il faisait... Je croyais qu'il faisait plus, mais... Je croyais qu'il faisait beaucoup plus, mais...
An antique wooden globe. If Galileo hadn't asserted himself back then, this would be a flat disk now. How wonderful. Sunshine and a blue sky above the Mediterranean Sea. It would be a perfect cruise day, if not for the murder. Big, soft towels. I could reserve a deck chair with it. No, better not. Did Edison have any idea what would become of his invention?
Pas moyen de voir les sous-titres, mais en petite voix en blanc. Pas. Changer le mode sous-titre. Changer le mode sous-titre.
These things made quite a racket last night. I couldn't hear myself think.
D'accord.
I'd really like to lie in the sun and take a nap, but I don't have time for that at the moment. I'd really like to lie in the sun and take a nap, but I don't have time for that at the moment. No, Jacob, business before pleasure.
Ça, c'est la musique des vieux, ça. Ding, ding, ding. Tick, tick, ding.
The cabin was sealed. I'm pretty sure the seal doesn't have any legal relevance here on the open sea, but I'm still dependent on Legrand letting me join his team. I better not blow it by breaking his seal without permission. I better ask. My investigations will be much. An evacuation plan? And some tips from the doctor for avoiding seasickness, sunburn, and the like. And here, a schedule of activities. A drink with the captain, a shuffleboard competition on the forecastle. That's about it. A real barrel of fun.
Come in.
Hello, Dr. Gebhardt.
And there's the next one.
Excuse me?
You want something else from me, don't you?
I'm afraid I do.
What a first day at work. Well,
What's the result of your examination of the victim?
she's dead.
I didn't make you work all night long, Dr. Gebhardt.
She was shot. Point-blank shot. Probably with a pistol. It seems like she was lying in bed. The shot struck her hard. She died immediately.
One shot?
More were unnecessary. And we only heard one shot, no?
And there's just one entrance wound.
Just one.
I am told that I was drugged.
That's how it seems.
What can you tell me about it?
Me? Why should that be my business?
Haven't you analyzed the glass?
No, I haven't. The inspector said he's the better chemist. I let him do it. That way I could at least concentrate on the body.
Do you think the Baroness might have been drugged? She was very tired and unsteady when Legrand and I saw her.
Yeah, I heard about that. I must have just missed her in the saloon. And without having seen her myself, it is hard to make a diagnosis.
Of course. Can you say something about her general health?
She was quite overweight, and the butler said that she suffered from diabetes. Despite that, she hadn't visited a doctor for several years.
Doesn't sound good.
Happens more frequently than you might suppose. Some people are scared of doctors and pay with an early death. It is possible that the Baroness wouldn't have lived much longer anyway.
Do you know whose glass I drank from?
What do you mean?
Captain de Conti handed me a glass of champagne. But where did he get it?
I don't know. Did you ask him?
I'm just asking because you were also in the saloon when the champagne was served.
Yes, but I only entered the saloon a few seconds before you did. I didn't manage to get a drink myself.
Which, in retrospect, is lucky.
Ah, you're right about that.
Have you already removed the bullet?
Did Legrand send you? What is that Frenchman's problem? I already told you. I will get in touch as soon as I have it. That is also what I told the constable, who he kept sending all night long, once I finally got rid of Legrand himself.
Did he look over your shoulder?
He probably wanted to take the scalpel from my hand and hack away himself. But this is my surgery, and I will not let amateurs interfere with my work.
That's understandable. How much longer will it take?
I have just finished. Send my regards to His Majesty.
Thanks. I think that's it for now.
No. That is it for now, then, and later. I'm going to lie down for a few hours. Can you tell that to your boss?
But... could I at least have the key?
Absolutely not.
But if we have to examine the victim again...
Then the esteemed inspector knows where to find me. In my cabin. In bed. Good night, Constable Zellner.
An alarm like this one was set off yesterday. This one hasn't been set off. The security seal is intact. That is Legrand's cabin.
Come in. Ah, Zellner, are you ready?
Good morning, Inspector Legrand. My head is pounding, but I think I'm okay.
Chloral hydrate. That's why you have a headache. I found traces of it in your champagne glass.
What have you found out so far?
The Baroness was shot in the chest at close range. We heard the shot. The murderer quickly fled the cabin and dropped the murder weapon over the railing later. A simple story so far.
But why was her cabin door locked?
Exactly. If the murderer wanted to make it seem like a suicide, he'd have shot her in the head and left the gun at the crime scene.
And if it was murder, why did he go to all the trouble of locking the door from inside? And how did he manage that anyway?
Especially since we arrived just a few seconds later and didn't see anyone near the cabin.
Something doesn't make sense here.
No, it doesn't, and it's driving me crazy.
Did you find the murder weapon?
On the gangway on the side of the ship. I suspect the murderer tried to drop it into the sea. He would have stood close to the railing to let it fall unseen.
And since he doesn't know the ship, he had bad luck and dropped it right onto the gangway.
Indeed. And do you find that probable?
Not a bit.
Neither do I.
What kind of a gun is it?
A pistol, a Luger .08.
Antique.
Manufactured 1,000,000 times during and after the First World War. Austrian model. The owner is David Kreutzer, the violinist. We found him tonight totally drunk on the bow of the ship. He confirmed that it's his gun, but he claims that it was stolen from him.
Fingerprints?
Nothing. But it's worth mentioning that the clip was missing 2 bullets.
And it's definitely the murder weapon.
The ballistic tests are incomplete. Actually, I've been waiting far too long for the bullet recovered from the corpse. Pay the good doctor a visit, Zellner, and see that he does his job.
About the bullet, here it is.
Excellent. Give it to me. As I suspected, a 7.65 Parabellum Luger.
Don't you want to examine it in more detail?
When I have time. For now, though, we can assume that we had the murder weapon. There can't be too many antique Luger .08 pistols on board.
May I take a look at the Baroness's cabin?
We already searched it thoroughly.
Sure. But what about now, by daylight?
Yes, fine, it can't hurt. Here, take this with you.
Thanks. I'll let you know if I find anything important.
But only then, please. I'm very busy.
Of course. Do you believe the violinist?
He'll be the first person I question. He claims he can't remember anything from the last few hours. Says he drank a bottle of schnapps.
He was on the train and he doesn't have an alibi. His drunkenness could be a smokescreen.
He fits the profile. He travels a lot, has access to high society. Could be interesting.
And this chloral hydrate?
Is a tranquilizer. can be dissolved in alcohol. The effect begins in minutes and lasts for hours. Who gave you the glass of champagne?
I believe it was Captain de Conti.
If believing were enough for us, we'd have become priests, Constable. Be a policeman and find out for sure.
Understood. You think that the jewel thief is the murderer?
Our friend would have needed another key to open the safe and steal the second eye, the one the Baroness was carrying. At least, that's what we implied.
What do you mean?
The Baroness was famous for her forgetfulness. I convinced her to give me the third key. It seems safer for the eye.
The thief searches the Baroness's cabin looking for the third key.
She returns from the saloon earlier than expected.
Surprises him, and he can't allow her to identify him.
He imprisons her until the coast is clear, and then shoots her.
And thus, the thief becomes a murderer.
But still doesn't have all the keys.
Are you sure that there's no bomb inside this time?
Professor Lucien locked it in front of an audience, and it will be opened for the first time in Cairo.
Let's hope so.
It would take hours to crack it, and you'd need heavy machinery.
Or the keys.
Or the 3 keys, that's right.
Do you really think that the Raven is behind all this?
He wrote the letter that was on the safe in the train. Without the letter, we wouldn't have opened the safe and the bomb wouldn't have exploded.
But it doesn't seem like him, does it? The Raven was famous in part because he never hurt anyone, much less killed anyone, during a burglary.
It's his handwriting, and he called me Nico. No one else does that. I chased that man across Europe for years. It is him. It has to be him.
But the evidence...
Enough.
I'll be on my way. I want to find out who gave me the drugged champagne.
Good idea.
Inspector Legrand, are you okay? Maybe you should take a break.
I can sleep once I've caught the Raven. Goodbye, Constable.
Be seeing you. Legrand is risking not just his career, but his health as well on his hunt for the Raven. He's working like a demon. Maybe that's why he caught the Raven and no one else. This is the first murder scene I've ever set foot in. There should be a ventilation shaft behind the hatch. Usually a good way to break in and out undetected. But we're on a ship. The ventilation shafts are very small here. The most unportable portmanteau I've ever seen. A portable bar is more like it. Must be hard work transporting this big, heavy thing halfway around the globe. And the Baroness was lucky that the other freight cars were only lightly damaged by the explosion. An impressive piece, but I don't think it'll get me anywhere with the murder investigations. Another alarm. It was tripped at some point. The seal is broken, but there's no way of telling whether it happened yesterday or 5 years ago. The notepad has the ship's emblem on it. I suppose all the first-class cabins have them. It says, Inspector, be in the saloon at 10 p.m. There is a murderer on board and I will expose him. B. The Baroness seems to have known the murderer, and that means that the Raven can't be the murderer. He never killed anybody. Legrand probably never got the message, otherwise he'd have said something. The mannequin surely came with the cabin. A mannequin for the Baroness's clothes would have a more generous figure. Sunflowers. By Van Gogh, I presume. He liked to paint that sort of thing. Can't be an original. They cost thousands of francs. Apparently, the Baroness didn't have time to unpack her bags. Or rather, didn't have time to tell her butler to unpack them for her. Sifting through all that would take ages. But here, the Baroness's handbag. Ha-ha! A small leather-bound book. 1964 is engraved on it. This must be the Baroness's diary. Cosmetics, a handkerchief, a spectacles case. Nothing special. Let's see. Yes, it's a diary, all right. Difficult to read. No entry from yesterday. A brief, sober description of what she's done recently. Met Morris, arranged benefit concert for renovation of Louvre Southeastern Wing, Times photo shoot for Eye of Sphinx. BM, poor excuse for photographer, too fidgety. And so on. This entry looks strange. The handwriting is shaky, difficult to read. Dreamt of Bobby. Yesterday would have been his birthday. Next week, Jay's. The Baroness was a very busy woman, and it looks like she had to cope with the loss. She writes about Bobby and Jay. Neither seem to be alive anymore. Almost every family lost loved ones in the war. Maybe hers as well. I'll leave it there. I don't have time to read all of it. The portholes face the side deck. If someone climbed out of the cabin through a porthole, Legrand and I would have seen them. The portholes are locked. One cannot open or close them from outside. It's the same problem as with the door. If someone left the cabin through the porthole, how did they lock it? And the Baroness wasn't shot from outside. The doctor said she was shot at close range. Something's under there. Down feathers, maybe from a quilt or a pillow. Nothing special. Although, it seems like one of the feathers was scorched at the top. Literally burnt. I'll take it with me. A big, ugly, and impractical vase. If it had a wider opening, one could at least use it as an umbrella stand. Can't see anything. Wow, heavier than it looks. Ha-ha! A tape recorder. Must go with the built-in speakers. Probably part of the cabin's furnishings.
J'ai bien le haha.
The tape recorder is older than the hills, but it was once very expensive. Top of the range. And it doesn't come cheap. Strange. There's only one reel. And it's the wrong one. No. No sign of the original reel. A reel made by Zeibling. I know the brand. Zeibling's tapes can be overwritten many times without losing quality. They're used in offices so that executives can record messages for the secretaries on the same tape over and over again. But they're not good for much else. They're robust, but they don't offer much in terms of sound quality. There's still blood on the mattress. The sheet and the blanket have already been removed. To analyze them, I suppose. Nothing. The blood spot is the only sign that someone committed a crime in here. Somehow... That's odd. The blood is so... red. Shouldn't it gradually darken in the air? Turn brown? The unusual color of the blood could be something that Legrand and Dr. Gebhardt missed last night. All cats are gray in the dark, as the saying goes. I should take a sample. The unusual color... All cats are... I guess our stowaway knocked me out. Why were the down feathers tossed in the vase? Or is there anything else in there? There may be something else in the vase, but the neck is too narrow to reach in with my hand. Why were the down feathers tossed in the vase? Or is there anything else in there? The Zeibling brand reel from the tape. I can't say why, and it seems impossible, but something tells me that the murderer entered and left the cabin through the door. The only question is how. The Baroness's butler looks like he didn't get much sleep. I would describe his facial expression as worried. Hello, Mr. Inch.
Oh, Constable, hello.
You look the worse for wear. It must be terrible for you.
Quite terrible. No one will hire me now.
Excuse me?
My mistress was murdered. Would you hire a butler who's been mixed up in a murder?
But if it turns out that you're not guilty...
If. But what if not? Who else would they blame? There are no gardeners on this ship.
I understand your problem. Under these circumstances, I'm sure you'd answer some questions that could help clear your name, wouldn't you?
Of course.
Did you notice anything suspicious last night?
No, sir. After the Baroness went to the saloon, I went to the forecastle. I was there until the alarm went off. I went to the side deck and arrived shortly after Professor Lucien and Miss Miller. We found you and Inspector Legrand there. You were unconscious, and the inspector asked us to take care of you.
Did you hear the gunshot?
No, just the alarm, sir.
You said you were on the forecastle. It sounded like the Baroness let you have the rest of the night off.
Not entirely, sir. One of the crew informed me that the Baroness wanted to be roused at 10:15.
Right. Why was that?
I suppose that she wanted to toast the success of the journey with the captain and the other passengers.
She hadn't intended to take a nap then.
That was not her way, sir. She had a lot of spirit, shall we say, when it came to social engagements and a glass or two of champagne.
The Baroness's cabin seems to have been ransacked.
Indeed, sir, by the Baroness herself.
Really?
She was searching for something the entire afternoon.
And did she find it?
I think she did, sir, yes. She was in high spirits when she finally left her cabin.
You wouldn't happen to know what she was looking for, would you?
I'm afraid not.
Would you describe the Baroness as orderly?
Well, she always had a lot of responsibilities, sir.
That doesn't answer my question.
She used to take a lot of luggage on journeys, and I helped her keep track of it as best I could. She was always very angry when she couldn't find something.
What about the photos and the documents I saw in her cabin?
I really don't know. They were out of bounds to me, sir. Memories from the war, I'd say. They meant a lot to her.
The Baroness seemed to be pretty drunk the last time I saw her.
Is that so?
Does that surprise you? Did the Baroness not drink?
Oh, yes, she drank. It was no secret.
I understand. How serious was her habit?
Serious enough, sir.
Was she under any medical supervision?
Certainly not, sir. She adamantly refused to see a doctor. Like so many elderly women, she had a distinct aversion to hospitals and the like.
How long had you worked for the Baroness?
6 months, sir.
Only 6 months? I always thought that butlers stayed with their employers for decades.
Those decades have to start at some point, Constable. Her former butler wasn't able to fulfill his duties any longer. Gout, sir.
I understand.
I took on his duties and hoped for a secure position for the next 20 years.
May I ask what happened to your arm?
A souvenir from the war, sir.
Doesn't it hinder your work?
Yes, sir, obviously.
I didn't mean to offend you.
The Baroness had a soft spot for disabled veterans. I think she'd been through a lot herself.
I think that's all for now.
Please, sir, find the murderer. You have to clear me of all suspicion.
Curious. One can easily toss a gun into the sea from almost anywhere on the ship without being noticed. And yet, the murderer chose the one spot where it's not actually possible. The gangway is hard to miss. Why did the murderer drop the gun on the gangway? They must have noticed the mistake, even if their back was to the sea. So, why didn't they take the gun and throw it a few meters farther into the sea? I suppose the life jackets are stowed there, close to the railing, close at hand, in
Blanc
case
sur
of
blanc,
emergency.
c'est
I hope I don't find myself needing a life jacket.
pas Donc blanc sur blanc, c'est pas super.
We were here yesterday when we heard the shot, and it was also here where Legrand caught our stowaway. This isn't a panoramic deck for visitors. There are pipes, steel cables, chains up here. You can smell the smoke from the funnel. I have no idea how the ship works, and I really don't care, as long as it stays afloat. The grate must be part of the ship's ventilation system. Nothing out of the ordinary. The grate shouldn't be so easy to open. Did the stowaway open it and we caught him in the act? No. The pipe is too narrow. He wouldn't fit in there. I guess the cover has been defective for a while. I could inform the captain that the grid has to be repaired, but if I start reporting all the problems on the ship, I'd have to shelve my murder investigation. A boat like this would also make a good hideout for a stowaway. Were the tarpaulins arranged like that on purpose so that no one could put them back in order once they get in? You can tell at a glance that everything is ship-shape with this boat. Why is there an axe hanging here? I suppose it's for chopping through ropes in the event that the lifeboats can't be lowered, or they use it to enforce who's allowed on the boat and who's not. The ship's bridge. 2 men, one of them navigating. I get the impression that the officers keep things running. It seems like the captain concentrates on the passengers and the bar. I better let the men do their work. If one of them had detected something yesterday, he'd already have informed Legrand or the captain. There's dirt piled up in the corner. Down below where the passengers are, the ship is pretty clean. But the crew doesn't seem to care as much up here. Constable Oliver brought something to drink. You can tell it's not the first time he's had to guard something. The bottle should be full of water, unless the good constable happens to have a secret alcohol problem. No way to verify that. I can't get the bottle without him noticing. The bottle should be full of water, unless the good constable happens to have a secret alcohol problem. No way to verify that. I can't get the bottle without him noticing. It may not seem like it, but Constable Oliver is actually a very effective watchman.
What's going on?
The Raven just flew by.
What?
Or at least, he might as well have.
I wasn't asleep.
I understand. It was just a ruse. Any conclusions about a young stowaway?
He's a bit suspicious. Foreign and whatnot.
I see. Did he act suspiciously in any way?
No. The shot surprised him as much as it did me. Looked in on him earlier. Still seems to be asleep.
Covered with a blanket from head to toe?
He's still in there. I poked him.
May I go downstairs and have a couple of words with our guest?
No, you may not.
Come again?
Inspector Legrand wants to conduct all the interrogations himself.
I'm sure he'll understand if I form my own conclusions.
He ordered me to guard the door, and that's just what I'm gonna do.
How about a bit of individual initiative?
How about letting a man do his job? Or do you think you'd be better at it?
What do you think? What happened here last night?
The Raven broke into the Baroness's cabin, she surprised him, and he shot her.
What was he looking for in her cabin?
She was a rich woman.
He didn't want to steal her purse. He wanted the third key.
So Legrand also told you about that?
Why did he lock the door?
Why not?
From inside? An impressive trick.
I'm not saying I know how he did it. I'm just saying that it was him.
Why didn't he leave a raven feather?
Are you serious? We'd have suspected him straight away.
But fortunately, we still did. Let's assume that the old raven really has returned and that he really is responsible for all this. Who is he? Or she?
Oh, could be anyone. No one's ever seen the Raven.
He could also be paying someone else to do his dirty work.
Well, of course. It's a fact that he used to work with partners. They even arrested some of his accomplices.
But no one could ever identify the raven himself. Some claims that they didn't even know that they were working for him. Fascinating. He could have hired someone with financial difficulties to set off the alarm at a certain time without that person knowing why they were doing it.
The man Legrand shot back then, he was a famous safecracker. He could just as well have been a henchman.
Or the real raven. There's probably no better cover for a big thief than acting like a small one. I don't want to keep you from your duties any longer.
Good idea.
The bottle should be full of water, unless the good constable happens to have a secret alcohol problem. No way to verify that. I can't get the bottle without him noticing. The stowaway surely didn't sleep well last night in the cargo hold, although his cell is probably more comfortable than my cabin, and more spacious. I have to talk to the young fellow right away. Even though he was already under arrest at the time of the shot, he may have noticed something before. And what about the other gunshot? Could the second missing bullet from the murder weapon be stuck down there in one of the wooden crates? If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of the constable first. He won't let me talk to our young friend. I have to talk even though he... And what about... Could the second missing bullet from the murder weapon... If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of the constable first. He won't let me talk to our young friend. I wonder if this game is an advanced version of bocce. Maybe the inventor realized that it's difficult to play ball games on a boat and came up with an alternative. Salty sea air in my old lungs, wind in my thinning hair. If I hadn't become a policeman, I could have been a sailor. It may not seem like it, but Constable Oliver is actually a very effective watchman. I guess our stowaway knocked me. Whatever his...
Oula.
Lady Westmacott seems to be an early bird, but maybe that's just because of all the excitement. I saw a twinkle in her eye on the train. She's eager to be part of a real detective story. Lady Westmacott, already on your... Oh,
Constable, don't you think before you speak?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No time for chit-chat. What have you found out?
We're still working on the case. Actually, I have a couple of questions for you.
Please, go ahead.
What did you think of our adventure on the train? An extraordinary story, isn't it?
I'm glad that you were able to prove yourself, Mr. Zellner.
Hopefully not for the last time.
I'm glad that everything ended well. I want to thank you sincerely for taking care of Matthew. I can't bear to think about something happening to him.
It all worked out in the end. Do you think that the thief from the train and the murderer are the same person?
I think the new Raven is capable of anything.
Legrand believes there is no new Raven. He thinks that the old one has returned.
He said that.
Do you think it's possible? Everyone thinks he's dead.
As a dramatist, the return of the Raven would certainly be delightful. A legend comes back from the grave for one last job. It's quite romantic. At the same time, though, I'd be disappointed.
Why is that?
I followed the Raven's career closely. There weren't many burglars with such character and charm. His burglaries were clever and entertaining, but he was sloppy in London. He almost got caught, and I'll never forgive him for the affair on the train. No, I would much rather that the Raven stayed dead and had nothing to do with the burglary or the murder.
What do you think? Who is our suspect?
Everyone, or almost everyone. Everyone on board is physically capable of shooting someone, but who has the dark desire to take the life of a defenseless person?
One cannot read minds.
And one should not try. You have to collect evidence, traces, clues. That's what will lead us to the killer. It won't be like a bad crime novel, in which they introduce a new character shortly before the end who, surprise, surprise, is also the murderer.
Murderers leave evidence. They're nervous or unnaturally relaxed. They have to adjust constantly.
And because of that, they make mistakes. This is your chance, Constable. If you find the mistake, you'll find your murderer.
Have you noticed anything related to the murder?
Unfortunately not. I was already in my cabin and missed all the commotion. Damnable old age.
You're telling me.
Oh, you're still young. At my age, you have to expect that you won't experience much anymore. And although I've written about murder so many times, I've never actually witnessed one. How exciting.
I doubt everyone is so relaxed in such a situation.
Heartless is the word you're searching for, right, Constable? I certainly didn't want the Baroness to be murdered, but if I can't undo it, then I might as well enjoy it.
What do you think of Inspector Legrand?
He seems to be as skilled as everyone says. Intelligent, focused. I had a chat with him yesterday, and he impressed me, but there's something haunted in his eyes.
I don't think he ever really stopped hunting the Raven.
Catching the Raven made him famous. What if he actually shot the wrong person? Unjustified fame bothers people, the good ones at least.
And you think he's one of the good ones?
Anyone who tries so hard to tear down his own memorial must be honorable. Or insane.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course. Lady Westmacott seems to be an early bird, but maybe that's just because of all the excitement. I saw a twinkle in her eye on the train. She's eager to be part of a real detective story. Captain DeConti is sitting at the bar again. He gave me the glass of champagne last night.
Hey, Constable Zellner. You're back on your feet again. Glad to see it.
What was your experience of last night?
Oh, terrible. Dinner was fantastic. Everyone was excited about having a pleasant drink under the stars. And then this.
You were in the saloon all night long.
As the captain, I have to care for my passengers. After you and the others rushed out, I tried to maintain a festive atmosphere. But when the alarm goes off, I lose the battle.
How was the Baroness?
She really surprised me. After she was so unapproachable at the reception and didn't show her face for the entire afternoon, I was afraid she was one of the bores and bourgeoisie. But then she arrived in the early evening in the best of moods. Already had a few, if you know what I mean.
Did she say anything to you?
She asked me where Legrand's cabin was. I told her, then invited her to come for drinks in the evening. I said it would be great fun. The whole ship will be there, and you don't want to miss that, I told her.
And then?
She seemed to like the idea. She smiled, and then left again for a few minutes. Then she came back and seemed very happy. We drank a toast to life.
But at some point she didn't feel well anymore?
She overdid it a bit. She suddenly started to swoon and almost spilled her drink. I asked her if she wanted to rest for a moment in her cabin. At first, she didn't want to. She definitely wanted to stay in the saloon. But then she realized that she really did need to lie down. We left together. You know the rest of the story.
Did everyone drink from the same bottle of champagne last night?
There was more than one bottle, if that's what you mean. There were quite a few guests, and the event lasted several hours.
The last bottle of champagne, the one the Baroness drank from, did anyone else drink from it?
Certainly.
We have reason to believe that the champagne was drugged.
Incredible. But wouldn't that have made everyone drowsy?
Not if it was only the Baroness's glass that was drugged.
I see. That's possible. On a night like that, many glasses are filled and emptied. There are several stewards, many guests. No one keeps track of every glass and every bottle.
A few drops in a glass?
Yes, it's certainly possible.
The glass you handed me last night, where did you get it?
Ah, I understand. You think your glass was poisoned as well?
Did you pour it yourself?
No. I saw that you weren't doing so well and wanted to rescue the situation. I took the first available glass and I give it to you.
Was it on the table?
No, I hurry over to you, together with Dr. Gebhardt, who... Of course, he had the glass in his hand. He was looking around for a place to set it down, so that he could examine you. I took it from him.
And gave it to me?
I'd like to apologize for that, but you look so worse for the wear, and I just wanted to comfort you. I didn't think of looking for a new glass for you.
So the doctor had the drugged glass in his hand. Is it possible to find out where the alarm was set off?
I'm afraid not. There are alarms all over the ship.
I saw that they're sealed. Can't we just check whether the seal is broken?
I'm afraid they're gonna be missing on a lot of alarms. You know, this is an old ship, and over the years...
So, you're saying that the alarms haven't been regularly maintained?
I'll inform the crew immediately, of course.
Of course. What can you tell me about the passengers?
Oh, not that much, I'm afraid. I wanted to get to know them properly at the reception. In most cases, I just shook hands with them as they boarded the ship. There are a few regulars on board, and after dinner, I had a conversation with Mr. Kreutzer, a talented violinist, and Lady Westmacott. But you already know them from the train.
It seems like there aren't that many passengers on board.
These bloody airplanes are making our lives miserable. Can you imagine? Grown men prefer to jam themselves into a narrow metal coffins instead of enjoying the fresh sea air on a ship.
It's all about saving time.
It shouldn't be about how much time it takes to get from A to B, but about how you spend that time. What you experience on the journey, that's what it's about.
I'll get back to my investigations now.
Ciao, Constable.
The alcoholic drinks and everything that goes with them is top-notch on this ship. As expected, fresh ice and tongs.
Constable Zelda. What is the meaning of this? Are even the police light-fingered nowadays?
I need this tool for a criminal investigation.
Well then, why didn't you say so? But bring the tongs back when you're done. Otherwise, I'll have cold fingers all day.
Captain DeConti is sitting at the bar again. He gave me the glass of champagne last night.
J'aime bien ces musiques.
Good work. There's something in there. Ah. Someone stuffed this in the vase. Looks like it's been used to muffle a gunshot. If this isn't an important discovery, I don't know what is. Legrand, here I come. A singed pillowcase is proof that there must have been a second gunshot. Inspector?
Can't you knock?
I didn't realize. I'm
not getting anywhere. I'm going to question each passenger individually. Anyone without an airtight alibi will be checked for gunshot residue.
But, Inspector...
People trip up when you put pressure on them, Constable Zellner. The Raven is nervous. He's changed his methodology and become a murderer. I'll see it in his eyes. After you.
But, Inspector Legrand... We have no proof that the Raven and the murderer are the same person.
You may not know it, but I do. I will catch him with or without your help.
I don't believe it. What's gotten into him? Oh, well. It makes no sense to tell him about my theories if his opinion is already set. I need evidence. Or better yet, the murderer. I also need his lab if I'm going to get anywhere. I need to get in there somehow. And I really need to talk to the stowaway. He may have information, and the inspector will just ignore him since he's too young to be the Raven. Legrand locked the door. The lock isn't especially secure. If I had a wire or something like that, I could probably pick it. Neither Dr. Gebhardt, but in contrast to... I wonder what would happen if Legrand... A pitiful attempt to make the interior of the ship seem less dreary. A bit of paint on the walls would have helped more. Especially since a plant won't survive long without daylight. There are little stones in the flower pot. Not only does the poor plant have to make do without sunlight, it doesn't have any soil either. Really? What am I supposed to do with stones? Although, sooner or later... A model of the Lydia before it was rebuilt. It used to be a freighter. The wide hallways, the cabins, and the saloon were added later. I'm not paying for this. It's rather... No, I've slept enough. I guess I'll stow away now. Whatever his story... More feathers, and they're singed as well. I'd better take it with me. The door... The globe nicely shows that 4/5 of the Earth's surface is covered by water. Looking out the window, I'd call that an understatement.
Mr. Kreutzer, come on, you have to give me a bit more. You're the only one who was on the train and who has no alibi for last night.
As I said, I was in my cabin.
Are you sure that it was your cabin and not the Baroness's?
Legrand will question the guests, one after another. But if he doesn't get the answers that he wants to hear, it could become unpleasant for them. English ham and eggs. One advantage on an international trip is the international breakfast. Many of my fellow countrymen think it's outrageous to eat fried bacon, sausages, or anything heavy for breakfast. I, on the other hand, think ham and eggs are the only worthwhile contribution the English have made to international cuisine. It's not fair. There's a magnificent buffet, but I don't have an appetite. Maybe a side effect of the tranquilizer. It's not fair. There's a Excellent. Ah, that's just what I needed. The ship must have been rebuilt at some point. I'm sure it didn't originally have such a modern glass roof. Mr. Kreutzer clearly feels uneasy. But does Legrand actually think he's the Raven? Legrand is absorbed in the interrogation. He still seems pretty annoyed. The violinist seems to be bearing the brunt of it. Captain de Conti seems old and tired. The price you pay for a life like his, I suppose. I'm sure Captain de Conti wouldn't mind a chat, but I don't think he can help me at the moment. Miss Mayers seems to have found an opportunity to do nothing. Hello, Miss Mayers.
Hello, Mr.
Constable Zellner. Do you think it's appropriate to go sunbathing in a situation like this?
What situation?
A woman was murdered last night.
If refusing to sunbathe could bring the dead back to life, I'd go back to my cabin immediately.
Did you hear or see anything suspicious last night?
No, I didn't feel very well last night. I went to bed early.
So, you're feeling better this morning?
Thanks for asking.
I'm sure your parents are truly sorry that they can't be with you at this difficult time.
Maybe. But I'm not a little girl anymore. And thinking about my fiancé keeps me going.
You're engaged?
Yes. My boyfriend and I got engaged right before the trip. I want to surprise my parents, especially my dad.
I'm sure he'll be very surprised. But what will you do if your father doesn't agree to the engagement?
What choice does he have when he put me on this boat full of thieves and murderers in the first place?
Charming. Enjoy the sun, Miss Mayers, and don't let us disturb you.
If you're trying to make me feel guilty, Constable, it's not working.
The bottle should be full of water, unless the good constable... No way to verify that. I can't get the bottle...
Bon allez, je regarde ça. Et je reset parce qu'apparemment en tour ça ne joue pas. Hop, je continuerai tout à l'heure. Hop là.